Welcome back to the BasketBaltes podcast. Sports writer and analyst with USA Today, Mac Baltes, joined by the BasketBaltes rotation. We've got Max and Caleb here with me today. And a lot of crazy things have happened since we last linked for an episode, but a lot of trades and free agency to talk about. What are you guys most excited to chop it up about today?
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I mean, Jaylen Brown's a great topic. I'm just excited to talk about like kind of what's been going on in the offseason, all these free agent signings. Yeah.
Absolutely. So kind of beginning with the Jaylen Brown trade, the last day we filmed an episode was the day of the Ja Morant trade. So got a few trades to address here, but the Jaylen Brown trade was a shocker. We talked about maybe a shocking LaMelo trade last episode. This one was even more shocking.
The Brown trade was a shocker.
For sure, especially going to Philly.
I mean, I feel like the whole offseason there was Brown trade chatter, no?
There was Brown trade chatter, but again, for him to go to Philly, a rival, another contender, was crazy. But again, that package was Jaylen Brown for Paul George and I believe 3 first-round picks as well. And thoughts on the move for both sides?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was like I'm more shocked that they couldn't work it out. But not so much that he got traded. I think that was kind of the writing on the wall this last season. For me, I think it's very interesting. You're trading away a player who clearly wants to be the face of the team. Clearly has proved that he can be the face of the team. During the championship run, he saved your now face of team. So I don't know. It's interesting for me, especially to keep him in the East.
And you're referring to Jason Tatum there, who he saved. Your thoughts?
It's a win-win.
Really?
Jaylen Brown gets to be kind of the face of a new franchise. And the Celtics, I mean, Brad Stevens, you can't say anything bad about the guy. He makes good deals after good deals after good deals. And he knows more about the Celtics, their chemistry, what Brown really did do. I mean, you see some of those splits on and off the court. A little interesting to look at. I think he knows more. And I think if you're a Celtics fan, you trust the guy. I'm not saying that it is going to work out. But I think that, also, you know what about that cap space. Brown's next contract, right, was going to be like astronomical, no?
Yes.
So it's like, I think it was a good trade. They needed to take a couple steps back. I think they're in a good spot, really. And obviously for Philly, it's a win. I think we all know why it was a win for Philly. So
I think they could have gotten better trade packages elsewhere.
So you don't think they would have done it if they could have, though?
It's just confusing to see the direction that they're heading in with the package that they got back.
I think it's a cap space move, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. The cap space was huge. It's something over $180 million for the next 3 seasons. Obviously, the Celtics had to get out of that for apron reasons, but you have to assume that they could have gotten a better package elsewhere, I think. And even the reports that came out after the trade, it seemed like a lot of teams were lowballing the Celtics and maybe bringing their offers to be better later. They never expected Boston to take the offer that they did. I don't like the PG acquisition much if I'm Boston. I think, Paul George is a player that has been bad for a lot of his time in Philly. And then all of a sudden, in I believe like a 16 to 20 game sample in the second half coming off of that suspension, was all of a sudden, close to, his prime with the Clippers maybe, or I won't say his OKC prime, or his Pacers prime, but was all of a sudden really good. But then moving forward, it's very difficult if you're Boston because, not only do you not have a star for a little while, but I also thought that the packages of teams maybe looking for stars could have been so much better. And the package that comes to mind is the one in Portland. Yeah. Portland was looking for a star. They have so many nice young players. They have so many nice defensive players that I think Boston and Joe Mazzulla would have loved to have. But as you mentioned, I think you do have to have a bit of trust in Brad. I think Brad knows what he's doing, but also there's not many presidents of basketball operations that were former coaches. and that we're able to literally work with those players one-on-one day in and day out, and Brad Stevens was one of those. So if there's any president who knows the team, as you mentioned, it would be Brad. So I think it's unfortunate, but also with the new CBA, I think it's very difficult to have two max players on a championship team. I mean, we've seen it. If you look at, the better teams in today's era, if we think about the team that's best positioned for the future right now, I think we're all saying the Spurs. And what do the Spurs have? The Spurs have 3 amazing players on rookie deals. The guy they have on a max deal is De'Aaron Fox. They don't have multiple max guys. Even, I believe Chet is making a fair amount, but even he's not on a max contract, I believe. So for those reasons, I think Boston had to make the move, but I think they could have executed it better. And also to your point, Max, I think they could have taken a wait-and-see approach. I think they could have rode with Brown for at least a little while. I think they could have mitigated it, whatever the turmoil was, or possibly even moved him at the trade deadline as well. There's always teams hunting for stars at the deadline. Teams get a little bit greedy, or I'm not going to say greedy, maybe desperate, if you will, and they maybe could have, exercised a better deal at that time.
I mean, based on the trade, you can't tell me that they have championship aspirations this upcoming season. Therefore, I agree with your point, and they could have, waited and seen what was going to come, waited into the season. I mean, if you're not trying to win a championship that season, what's the harm in keeping him for the start?
Mm-hmm. And I think, and we've focused more on the Celtics on this side, and I'll say a little bit about the Celtics before moving to Philly. I'm excited to see Hugo Gonzalez be unlocked. I mean, that's a dog. That is a defensive dog. Was an amazing defender throughout his first year. I'm interested to see him next season, but I do still think the Celtics are going to be a good team. Again, they were a number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference without Jason Tatum for the first 60 or so games. I think with the roles reversed, Tatum kind of taking Brown's spot, I still think they'll be a good team.
I think
I
they're
still
always
think
better.
We're talking a top 5 team.
Yeah, they're always better than they are on paper. And I think they have one of the best coaches in the NBA, one of the best systems in the NBA, and you see a lot of those players in that system become better than what you would think they would do that season.
Absolutely.
So again, like you said, Brown, they were a 2nd seed last year with Brown. And I don't know how many people are saying Brown's a better player than Tatum. I think Tatum definitely impacts winning more than Brown. So I think the Celtics are looking at it, and I think they could be like, I think we could win a championship with this team.
I think they're definitely hovering around that area. I think they think they're good enough to compete. I don't think they think they're finals contenders, but they're good enough to compete. Obviously, Jaylen Brown 6th in MVP last year, huge year. But moving on to the Philly side, and we'll get to the LeBron James signing a little bit later, but I mean, that was the catalyst. Like, to be able to pull that off and get off of one of the worst contracts. Like, I mean, we're talking a historically bad contract in Paul George, and all it took was 15 games off after his performance-enhancing drug suspension that they were able to move off of him.
Right.
Obviously had to sacrifice the picks, but when you're looking at that roster with Maxey and Embiid, you were just waiting for something more. You were waiting for when they were going to take the next jump, and they got the guy that could. I mean, other than Giannis, certainly the best star on the market. Kawhi was available too, but you get Jaylen Brown for longer than you would Kawhi.
Yeah, you brought up the picks. I think it's with the way that they structured that roster now, I think it's worth giving up the picks. They're in win now mode. I mean, I think it's kind of championship or bust in this.
For sure. At least
I'd like to say this year,
bust.
if not by next year. If this team doesn't come away with the championship or at least a finals appearance,
it's finals appearance or bust, and I think we can talk about a little bit more about the roster when we get to LeBron later. As far as free agency is concerned, we're only going to talk about the LeBron signing today. There's still some signings yet to be had, so we'll save the rest of the signings for our next episode. But moving on to some other trades, we got more trades to talk about. We talked about some Hornets trades the last episode with Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball, but it's another Hornets trade to report this time. Dorian Finney-Smith coming to Charlotte as a salary dump from Houston, and this trade's going to go under the radar. And Dorian Finney-Smith, I wrote an article about it on his player grade from last year. I gave him an F. He had the worst season of his career last year, but we're talking about a good 3-and-D wing throughout his career, and finally a defense-first player that I think the Hornets have needed to be able to get him and receive second-round picks and give up nothing in return. I think it's a solid move.
I think the biggest question with him is he healthy? I think, I agree with your F rating for him last season. I mean, he played very consistent for the Mavs, very consistent for the Lakers that one season, and then, very much like the games that he did play, I didn't even think he played. I thought he was still injured. So it's interesting to see if he is actually healthy. I think that makes the biggest difference with him.
There's absolutely nothing for me.
Okay.
Trade. I think it's under the radar for a reason. It's just one of those trades. It's just, that's all right, cool. Guy moved.
That's fair. I think if they give him the leash, I think he's still, at his age, only 33, could still be a solid defender. But again, looking at his numbers last year, just to corroborate my point, 3.3 points per game and 2.5 rebounds. I mean, that's nothing to write home about, especially for somebody they were hoping was going to be a defensive stopper in Ime Udoka's rotation. But again, the numbers are solid here. Defense overall, his best season averaged 11 points and over 1.1 steals per game, had 0.5 blocks per game as well. So a 3-and-D guy, played with Luka for a little bit, thrived in that role, went to the Nets, went to the Lakers. But I can understand it not being as high profile as some other moves. That said, we'll move on to the next move. That trade was kind of quick.
Can I touch one thing on
For
that?
sure.
I think he performed very consistently in those. He was fully in the rotation with Dallas and LA. He was not really in the rotation at all for Houston, even when he was healthy. I don't think he's really going to be in this rotation here in Charlotte. They are big heavy. He would obviously be behind Naz Reid, and then you have Musa. He's not a 5, but the way they play basketball, I don't know. You still have Grant Williams on the roster. All these 4s that I'm just is he is he good enough to be even be in that rotation? I don't know.
That's a good point. I think they could bear to use him as a 3 and a 4. I think the issue that the Hornets had last season was that their 2 4s were actually undersized for being 4s, those being Grant Williams and Miles Bridges. Yeah. They were undersized, but also it'll be nice to see the Hornets actually have some defense-first players. I mean, when you look at the team last year, other than Colin Sexton, who started the season on the roster with the team, was there really a defense-first guy? I don't believe you can say so, but Royce O'Neal, a 3-and-D guy, again, Dorian Finney-Smith, a 3-and-D guy. So yeah. I agree with you. I don't know that his role will be that big, but I think that's something they could and should tap into because, again, their strategy last year was just to outscore people. I mean, they were number 1 in three-pointers made, and they were number 3 in three-point percentage. And obviously Charles Lee got that from his time in Boston. There's no secret there, but I think they could afford to add some great defense, and they could have added a defensive stopper maybe in the draft. We had mentioned Dalen Swain before. They went for Steinbach and rebounding, and then they went for more three-point shooting and Christian Anderson. So finally got some defensive guys, and that's what I'm interested in seeing. But
yeah, I guess I'd really like to see how it plays out. Right now, I don't see him having much more of an effect other than more of an effect than Tijan Salah has.
And that's fair. And at the time of recording this episode, the Hornets still have to cut a couple players from their roster. So who knows? There was reports originally when the trade happened that DFS wouldn't play for them at all. Maybe he's going to play. They did give him his official jersey number, so I don't believe they're planning on waiving him. Maybe searching for a trade. But either way, moving on to the next big trade, and it's one that has yet to be finalized. It's the Kawhi Leonard trade, and that was interesting because for one season of Kawhi, I think that the Raptors tremendously overpaid. I mean, we can pull up the package here. More on that.
The Raptors overpaid?
Yes.
For the first time?
No, for this.
Oh, for this one.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the first trade. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
so the
because there's only 1 year left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That Kawhi Leonard trade again. Kawhi Leonard. I think it's a large package to give up for just one season. Again, I think there's a good chance that they do re-sign him. He indicated to want to retire there, which is kind of interesting coming the second time around because he easily could have made that decision the first time. But that package was Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, 2 first-rounders, 1 first-round pick swap, and 2 second-round picks. And for someone, I believe, who's around, age 36, I mean, that's a lot to give up.
He's 36?
It is a lot to give up. But we think about the first time. What happened the first time? It was they gave up DeMar. I thought that was crazy too at the time. Brandon Ingram has had years to establish himself. I think. I'm not saying anything.
I don't think there's another ceiling to hit.
I just don't know if there's another ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he has it. Was this his first All-Star this past season?
Who, Ingram?
Yeah.
Oh. I'm not sure. We can find that out, I guess. And Kawhi's 35 and not 36?
34. I think Ingram had 2. Yeah, this is his second one.
So I mean, this is his second one, but I mean, look at the gap in years there. DeMar was way more proven at that point, and that was a whole swap. The return on investment, if you want to call it that Kawhi brings, what happened last time? It's, I think, where you are as a franchise in Toronto right now, I think it's worth it. That team was not going to get over the hump, especially with how loaded the East is now.
That's fair, but I still don't think, and again, Kawhi was 34 years old last year, so entering his age 35 season, I still don't think it's enough. I mean, you look back at that championship team, they still had Kyle Lowry. They still had Pascal Siakam.
Fred VanVleet.
They had Fred VanVleet.
Phenomenal last season.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
at this age, Kawhi is still better than Brandon Ingram, and his contracts are only going to get smaller, and Brandon Ingram's are only going to get bigger. I like the move.
Kawhi, for certain, Kawhi scored a career high in points last season. I mean, and again, in that age 34 season is huge, but also he didn't play a ton of meaningful basketball. Here's one thing I will say about Kawhi, though. It seems like no matter what team he's on, I feel as though there's no player in the NBA who can will their team to victory by themselves more than Kawhi, because it seemed like that's what he did that entire finals run. And again, to take down the Warriors, he did it, with some great players on the Spurs, and then to do it kind of more or less himself. Obviously, a lot of great players with him, but
Siakam. Don't forget about that Siakam run.
That iconic shot against Philly. I mean, that was all him. I mean, he got off 4 guys on that.
Yeah,
one. It's
But
Val.
I still think it's a move that maybe doesn't even get them to the conference finals.
Really?
And to give up those picks, I mean, who are we talking about in the East? We're talking Philly. We're definitely talking New York.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
I think they're a better team than New York.
I think they're a better team than they were with Brandon Ingram, but I don't think it's enough.
Right. So
it's not enough. The East is so stacked.
And exactly, giving up 3 first-rounders for an aging star who you're not going to get back to that spot with, I think it's very difficult. But also, we got to look at this from the Clippers side. I think the Clippers, there's a good chance that the Clippers end up cooked in this. And the reason I think the Clippers end up cooked is because they got the better deal. They got more prospects, or more picks, and then they can finally begin to build for the future. But there's a chance that this deal doesn't come about at all.
Yes.
So
talk about that.
That would erase all the assets that they presumably are going to receive, and
so they just get Kawhi back, is what you're saying? Like the deal's off,
the
Kawhi
deal
comes
will be
back.
reversed.
Yeah, and I'm assuming Kawhi can't play, right?
Well, so it depends. There's a chance that the league could decide to blame Steve Ballmer, the Clippers owner. There's a chance that the league could decide to blame Kawhi. There's a chance that the league could decide to blame both. Exactly. I would be shocked to see a high-level player like Kawhi be sidelined for an entire year.
Really?
And I would also be shocked, and something I've read about is I would be shocked if Ballmer is punished that heavily, because the NBA, they viewed him as such a great owner, as someone who's continued to dump money into the league. They built their new huge stadium as well. So I'd be interested to see, because a lot of owners around the league are looking towards their punishment of the Clippers to see, is it going to be just? Is the punishment going to fit the crime?
If the crime happened, right? Because we don't know.
Right.
I can't see Ballmer's punishment being as severe as giving up the team.
For sure.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
It would definitely be a lot of money fines and stuff like that.
Maybe some
I
draft
can't
picks.
see Kawhi coming back to play basketball if he has to sit out a season. I don't know why. I don't think, and this might be totally wrong. It might just be the way he carries himself. I don't think he wants it that bad. That he experienced so much success in San Antonio so early that I think he is almost more content than guys that are still chasing it at the end of their career.
That's an interesting take, and I'm not really sure how to comment on that. To think that Kawhi would retire after getting suspended is a crazy way to think about his career ending. But I would be against that. I think even if he did get suspended the full year, I think he would come back. But also, I do believe that in these reports and speculation, I think the Clippers are more to blame than Kawhi. And the reason I say that is because if they're going to offer it to you, the players are going to accept it. I mean, again, some players might not, but if they're going to offer you all these side deals, and it's interesting, I remember the quote being from the Clippers GM, and it was, how many blank side deals do we have with Kawhi? And it was the Clippers GM. He didn't know. He didn't know about all the side deals they had with Kawhi. So there's a lot of shady stuff going around, and we won't speculate on that too much until the NBA hands out its punishment. But again, if you're looking at the Clippers in a sense of building for the future, obviously we're the 9 seed last year in the West, and then lost that first play-in game to Golden State. I mean, this is a team that desperately needs to build for the future. Just got a couple first-rounders for Zubats. Now could have 2 more. If those get taken away from them, I mean, you're talking about adding on years to the rebuild.
Yeah,
so
I do like the package that they got back in terms of what they need to do as a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes when teams accept the rebuild, they sell low.
Mm-hmm.
It takes years. I don't think it will take them years. They have Darius Garland, who, I mean, at one point in his career was, in my opinion, like a top 5 point guard of that season. When he was when he was in the All-Star game and everything, he was balling that season.
He's a good player.
He was
I
top 5 point guard that season.
No, I see what you're saying.
That season.
I think it might be a little bit heavy-handed, but I also disagree with you on the fact that you don't think it could take years. I think it'll take years, and the reason I think it'll take years is because how loaded the West is.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
they don't even have a bad roster right now, though. If you see they got Ingram, Ingram and Garland, like, that's not a bottom 3 team in the West, I don't
It's
think.
a play-in team, though.
Sure, but, like, unless I think they trade one of those guys, they're not even really, like, rebuilding.
Did they retain Ben Mathurin?
Well, and I was just going to say, we're going to see about that because he's restricted.
Okay.
They obviously...
They drafted Keaton Wagler, right?
Who's restricted?
Benedict Mathurin is a restricted free agent at the moment.
They drafted Wagler?
Wagler, number 5.
He's looked really good this summer.
I mean, they got a decent team, genuinely.
I think Conan Niederhauser is very underrated. And then also the ageless wonder, Brook Lopez. I mean, you got to love
Dog.
But is he their main big?
He is. Him and Hachimura.
Right.
They got Hachimura? Yeah, bro, they're
underpaid for him.
They're not even a bad team this year, so I don't even know if we're rebuilding right now.
Yeah, but they should be.
No, I'm not saying.
I don't think it's going to take years for them to rebuild. I think it'll take longer for them to be successful, though.
Yeah, for them to be in contention.
But I think that they've got a good core to start with.
Yeah.
It would have been nicer, I think, if they held on to John Collins. I think he was a good piece for them.
And now that again, not only is the West so stacked, but the teams of the West are just so young. It's like, you look at them and they're going to be good for years to come. I mean, the second best player on the Spurs in the finals is only entering year 2, and that's Dylan Harper. So it's just crazy to see. But Dylan Harper, a dog. So moving on to a fun trivia break. I like to keep the BasketBaltes rotation on their toes. So I've got two trivia questions for you today. And the first one, I'll let you guys, go against each other, if you will. Whoever can come up with the answers first. And the second one, I want you guys to work together to fill out the list of players, if you will. But the first question is, there is a current Western Conference center, and there's a current Western Conference coach. They both played college basketball together in the state of California. Can you guys name for me the current NBA head coach and the current Western Conference center?
They played together in college.
They played together in college. The coach...
And they played together in college in California, you said?
At a California school. This is a very interesting question because I I ran across some old highlights, some old March Madness highlights, and I saw these two play together, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. So whether you guys are going to go the route of an older coach and a younger player, or a younger coach and an older player, I'm interested to see what you guys come up with.
Well, I think the only thing that would make sense is
Plumlee and
a
Redick.
younger coach and an older player.
Your guess is who? I'm sorry.
Plumlee and Redick?
No.
They played at Duke.
Yeah.
He said they
Oh,
played at school in
California.
That's exactly why I clarified that, because that's my
you're
first
right.
thought.
It was shocking to me.
Did Plumlee re-sign with San Antonio?
Plumlee is not re-signed at the moment, I don't think.
Okay.
These are Eastern. Thiago Splitter not going.
But Thiago Splitter's not head coach, right? They signed someone?
No,
the
he
Bulls
did.
got him.
The Bulls.
the Bulls signed
The
Thiago
Blazers
Splitter.
not signing Splitter, bro.
Yes, and we covered that in our last episode. That was Thiago Splitter's a great coach.
It's got to be Tyronn Lue and somebody, you know.
Could be Doug Christie.
No way, it's Mitch Johnson. Did Mitch Johnson play college ball?
Just give me 3 guesses, but you guys, I need the center too. Who's the
Yeah,
center?
I know.
I'm thinking of a coach first. We need a young coach.
Can I guess the center?
Yeah, you can guess the center and the
Is it
coach.
Kevin Love?
No,
He's a starting center or just a center?
he's a starting center.
It's got to be a late 30s center and then a early 40s coach. It's got to be either Lou.
Did Will Hardy play basketball? He's young.
Oh,
Brook
okay.
Lopez and Tyronn Lue.
No, it is Brook Lopez though.
Dang, what a pull.
And well, Greg got the whole question. Greg already knew the coach too. So the rotation decided to work together. It was tough. Ironically, the great PG producer Greg in the background had the answer the whole time. Great guessing by Greg, but the answer is Mitch Johnson and Brook Lopez. They played together at Stanford. There's some highlights, I think, of like a 10-assist game for Mitch Johnson at Stanford in March Madness back in the day.
In March Madness?
In March Madness, we can pull that up.
So he was kind of cooking.
Cue the clip.
He does look like a Stanford guy, though, to be honest.
He does. But it's certainly interesting to me. I had never even known it. And definitely a fun trivia question.
For sure.
Had 9 points and 15 assists in March Madness alongside Brook Lopez.
Dang.
So not quite the double-double, but not bad for an NBA coach. So certainly really cool to see. And again, that Stanford team also had Robin Lopez, of course, on it as well. Brook's still playing in the league today, but dropping some dimes was Mitch Johnson back in the day.
2008. Wow.
Cool stuff. But moving on to our next trivia question, something I wanted to ask you guys, and let me pull it up because I have the list here, and I want the two of you guys to work together. Here's how it's going to work. I'm looking for 14 players. They should be relatively easy to name, one of which it will be impossible to name. So I'll give you that player off rip. And I'll give you guys 5 strikes. You know, I'll be generous today, you know, kind of putting you guys in the ringer here for the first time. But let me give you the prompt first. 2 NBA players are entering their 20th career NBA season this fall. Once they play at least one game, there will be 14 players, including them, to play 20 seasons in NBA history. I'm giving you guys 5 strikes. Please name me the 2 players and the other 12.
One of them's impossible?
Well, I'm going to give you the impossible one.
How? 20 NBA seasons and he's impossible?
I mean, you can certainly take a stab.
Was it like a 40s guy?
Not in the 40s, but
You know what I'm talking about. Like
an old, a very old player that you probably have never heard of.
Bob Petit.
No, not Bob Pettit. No.
So we'll officially lock in our answer before we say.
Yes, and you guys are working together.
So who was the guy?
3 we can think of initially is
Vince Carter.
is Kobe, Vince Carter, LeBron.
Yeah.
Those are
Nowitzki, did you do 20?
who?
Nowitzki, did he get 20?
I believe he did 20.
So and while you guys talk it over, we'll just bring up the stats of our answer that I'm giving you, which is Kevin Willis. Kevin Willis played 20 seasons.
Yeah, when I caught that.
So Kevin Willis bounced around a little bit
07 draft, right?
and actually played
07,
into the
06,
2000s. So Kevin Willis, I didn't think you guys would have had that. Had a top 11 finish in MVP.
He was an 80s guy.
Back in the 90s, yeah.
I thought he was like
somebody who flew under the radar, not necessarily an all-time great, but still somebody that played 20 seasons. And some of these players aren't necessarily all-time greats. They're just
long-term players.
Do you want to mention Kevin Willis played with Bird, Magic, Jordan, and LeBron?
I know who
what?
Yeah.
That's
he played with
insane.
all of them?
Yeah.
That's insane.
and Kevin Willis also
Against all of them. Yeah.
also just a great guy in NBA history because he played in the era of Bird, Magic, Jordan, LeBron as well. So somebody who's really done it all, kind of like the Dusty Baker of the NBA, if you will, for any baseball knowers out there. But anyway, we're looking for 13 players, the 2 that are going to enter their 20th season this year, in addition to the other 11. Again, I gave you Kevin Willis. I'm giving you guys 5 strikes. Work together, lock in your answers, and I'll confirm.
Can we lock in 3 right now?
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to lock in Vince Carter,
That's correct.
Kobe Bryant,
Yes.
and LeBron James.
All 3 of those are correct.
Okay. And so then...
Darwinski, right? No.
I believe so.
Well, who's the other 2? It's Durant and who? Is it DeRozan? No, it's not DeRozan.
I believe Durant is entering his 20th season.
Who else won at 07? Who else is just an old dude? Not Brook Lopez, right? No, he was at 08. Dang, this should be easy, I feel like. It's Durant. Frick.
Again, feel free to lock in or don't.
Can I give hints?
I will give you guys hints when you guys start to struggle. No strikes yet,
Yeah.
so...
Should we lock in Nowitzki real quick?
I think so.
Nowitzki.
We're going to lock in Dirk. That would be correct as well.
So we have 5.
Do we have 5, right?
Including Kevin Willis, yeah.
You have 8 to go.
Well, I feel like Malone got to one. Karl Malone?
No, excuse me. Sorry. You have 10 to go.
Yeah.
Because he played those Lakers teams. With Shaq. Maybe not, though. I feel like Stockton or Malone got 20.
It's not a bad line of thinking.
I know. I don't think that Shaq didn't get 20.
No.
Trying to think of like the all-time points leaderboard. Kareem, can we lock in? Wait, should we lock in Kareem? I think it is Kareem. He had to have played.
He took a break during his career, though.
Yeah, but he played like in the. Had to be Kareem.
This is fun.
The how's you gonna score 30 something K, man?
That's a fair point. You guys want to lock in Kareem?
Or you try to trick us and get us a strike, huh?
I mean, you guys got 5 of them. You guys have plenty to work with.
We can throw it.
Let's lock in Kareem.
We're locking in Kareem, and you guys would be correct.
Oh, yeah,
So perfect so far. I mean, again, Kevin Willis, you guys never would have had,
Yeah.
but perfect so far. And I'll throw out my first hint because this is probably one of the tougher names to get that remains. This player held the all-time games played record before LeBron just passed him last year.
Should know that.
Is it Bill Russell? No, that was... Is it?
Is it Bill Russell? No.
Bill Russell had... What,
I don't think he passed Bill Russell, though. Who the freak did he pass?
LeBron is all-time in games played.
Yeah.
But again, before last season...
Yeah, he passed someone. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm
yes.
just trying to think of who he passed.
He passed this player.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like it would have been everywhere. LeBron passed.
It was a Celtic, correct?
This player was a Celtic. This player that he passed was a Celtic. I will give you that as well. Producer Greg throwing in a hint as well. That's fine.
Did Kevin McHale play 20 seasons? Maybe.
I don't know.
One of those 80s boys.
I have.
Robert Parrish.
Are you?
Should we lock in Robert Parrish?
How confident are you?
Pretty confident. Lock in Robert Parrish.
That's correct. that is the player we were looking for. Robert Parrish.
Yeah, I know that boy was old at some point.
And I'm sorry, guys. We're going no hints for next.
Yeah, we have
while.
5 strikes.
You guys have 5 strikes, and you guys are perfect so far.
But,
so we have 7 players remaining. Again, and you guys still do not have the 2 who are entering their 20th season, who might be some of the easier ones to get.
You know Kevin Durant?
Fucking Durant.
I think Kevin Durant.
We're locking in Kevin Durant, and we're incorrect. That's the first strike. He's entering year 19.
Dang it.
18 seasons in the league, so 4 strikes remaining.
Dang it. Who's older than Durant?
There are some names out there.
This is so easy, bro. People watching this are going to be like...
Do you think Chris Paul played 20 years?
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, Chris Paul played 20 years, yeah.
Locking in
I'm
Chris
pretty
Paul?
sure he. I'm pretty sure he
so,
did.
right?
I'm almost.
Because he was
1,000%
drafted
sure.
earlier, like with like.
Or I think he was 08 draft. No,
I don't think Chris Paul was after Kevin Durant.
I think he was. Right, because Durant was at 07. It was like him, Greg Oden. Chris Paul wasn't in that draft, so yeah, he did have to be before. Was Chris Paul 06? I don't think he was 08. I think Chris Paul, man. I said Chris Paul.
I mean, again, you guys have 4 strikes. There's
Yeah, I mean, should we just lock in Chris Paul?
Trying to think of anyone else other than Chris Paul.
Yeah, he's.
you guys are playing like you have 1 strike. Honestly,
Hey,
I respect it though.
playing it the right way, man.
Good teamwork. Good teamwork over here.
So, LeBron was 03, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to base it in there.
LeBron's already been locked in.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
I'm
one
just
else in
trying to use that as a
draft,
cage.
obviously. Who was 04? Who was that number 1 pick in 04? We should know the other guy. Well, no, the 2 guys.
We'll say Chris Paul isn't an active player.
Wait, did we lock in Chris Paul yet?
No,
He wouldn't count. You're right because he's not an active player.
no.
But none
We
of Vince
consider
Carter.
him an active player?
No,
No.
we're doing anybody.
Robert Parrish is.
Yeah, but I think they were thinking of him
Oh,
as an active
I
player.
see.
He wasn't. Yeah.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, all right. Just
Like-
wanna make sure.
like going
He's not
into-
like-
Chris Paul
I
qualifies.
think I have the
Confused
2
me.
active ones. I'm pretty sure I
Okay.
have the 2 active.
Yeah,
How do-
write them down.
We need
Write 'em
one
down.
of the active guys, bro.
I'm pretty sure I got him.
This is showing my SBK.
Could it be Taj Gibson?
Yeah. If he's still playing?
Yeah.
Oh, then it's Tosh.
He's in Memphis this season.
Okay, then yeah, it's him. Didn't even know he was playing. For sure, it's Tosh.
Can we throw Taj Gibson in there?
That's another strike there
Frick.
on Taj Gibson.
Is he playing this year though?
I believe he
What
did
year is
resign.
he in? My goodness.
Yeah, Greg, can you pull it up? He might actually.
Taj Gibson?
Yeah.
He's got to be close.
Yeah, I got
that's true.
But I don't think he has 20.
I might give it to. I mean, obviously, I'll change it.
No.
Oh, 20 oh, dang,
16, 16 years, yeah.
Dang.
So Taj Gibson is your second strike. 3 strikes remaining back to normal baseball rules here. And producer Greg has a couple of answers for me. He's trying to do he's trying to see if he's got one of 2. Producer Greg has one of the 2 current players. I'm not going to let him give a hint yet. You guys still have 3 strikes left. All right, so unfortunately, one of our rotation members had to leave a little bit early, but we come back to this trivia. Again, 7 players left, 3 strikes remaining. I know you've got some players you want to lock in, Max, now that your counterpart's gone.
Yeah, 2 that I'd like to lock in right off the jump, Kyle Lowry and Chris Paul.
Kyle Lowry works. Chris Paul does as well. So 5 players left, 3 strikes. You still have not gotten the 2 players who are set to play their 20th year this season.
Yep. And that is a struggle for me. I really did think that Kevin Durant was one of those people. So now I'm trying to think someone is like, I'm trying to think of players that were drafted in between LeBron and Kevin Durant. I'm having a big blank.
And before I give you the next hint, I'm gonna make you at least suffer 1 loss of another strike. So I'll let you guess a little bit here before another hint. Anybody coming to mind?
I'm thinking Nicholas Batum right now.
Okay.
Just popped into my head a little bit.
Nick Batum. All right. Nick Batum is unsigned at the moment, but has not retired.
I'm not sure why this name keeps coming to my head so wrong. Kevin Love. I feel like he was drafted in 2011.
It's tough. I mean, 20 years is a long time to play
It's a long time.
to play in the league.
Let me just... I'm going to go ahead and guess Kevin Love.
Kevin Love is incorrect. So you've got 2 strikes left, and I'll give you the next hint. One of them probably accomplished the least on this list and does some work in the media now. So out of the 5 remaining, has accomplished the least and does work in the media.
Accomplished the least and works in the media.
And there's a chance that this player may have accomplished the least of the entire list, but I already deleted the names that you already got. But probably one of the one of the players on the lower end of this list for sure when it comes to career and what they did. But again, has a job working on TV now.
Huh. The TNT crew is coming to mind. I'm trying to think of who did less. Definitely not Shaq or Chuck.
2 strikes remaining. We're looking for somebody on TV. You were saying you're thinking about somebody on that TNT crew, but a lot of NBC added basketball last season. A lot of new outlets added basketball as well. So maybe there's some other crews. Maybe it is a TNT crew member. But again, there's still 5 other players, 2 of which are active.
2 of which are active. I'm going to try and attack that.
And more hints will come once you're down to 1 strike. I will say that. But
are these 2 active players in the same conference?
No. One's in the East, one's in the West.
I'm going to lock in Al Horford.
Al Horford, that would be one of the 2 current players. We are down to 4 players left. So you got the Western Conference current player. You still have that hint out there for the one who currently broadcasts. I'll give you hints for the final 2. One is known for a unique skill, and the other is known to be one of the best players at his position all time. So you have an Eastern Conference current player, you have one who's known for a unique skill, you have one who is one of the best players of all time at his position, and then you have somebody who's a broadcaster now. So those are your 4 players. 2 strikes remaining, Max. Obviously, you lost your compatriot here.
Did Tracy McGrady play 20 years?
Tracy McGrady did not. So you're down to 1 strike. I will say, to throw one more hint your way, the player who currently broadcasts has championship experience and championship pedigree.
Thinking Grant Hill.
Okay.
I only have 1 strike left, so I need to be sparing. I'm gonna lock in on the broadcaster hint. I'm gonna go Reggie Miller.
It was not Reggie Miller. Unfortunately, you're out of strikes. The broadcaster I was looking for was Udonis Haslem. UD.
That's a miss on my part. Yep.
And
I
then
missed on that one.
The only other one that I think you missed that you'll be mad at yourself is the all-time player at his position. That would be Kevin Garnett.
Okay. I wanted to guess Kevin Garnett like 10 minutes ago, and I don't know why. I got to stop talking myself out of these things.
It's hard. I mean, you're thinking of a lot of players all time. And then the player with the unique skill is Jamal Crawford. The crossover, crossover,
absolutely.
6th man of the year. Again, not necessarily an all-time great player, but I mean, an all-time really good player, really good player.
All right. Who might this second current player going into the 20th season be?
And this second current player, the reason it might have thrown you off is because he just moved to the Eastern Conference. It would be Mike Conley.
Oh, I should have said that when we were talking about Greg Oden, because I knew that they were in the same draft. Mm-hmm. Mike Conley.
So Mike Conley moving to the Celtics probably threw you off there. Moving to the Celtics this upcoming season.
I know some listeners that might hate that one.
But some all-time greats, again, like I said, Jamal Crawford, Udonis Haslem, Kevin Garnett, Mike Conley. Those were your final 4. Appreciate you playing along. And hopefully you played along in the audience as well. As we get back to the rest of the episode, we're going to talk about a tweet from Kyle Kuzma. Not often do we talk about player tweets, but Kyle Kuzma, interestingly enough, on Twitter, on X, he's kind of become the voice of reason in recent days and recent months. If you have seen what he's had to say, but basically, and I'm not going to read the whole tweet because it's many paragraphs, but basically, Kuzma speaks as the NBA becoming more about how owners and teams can manage their finances rather than build teams. And I think that's a real interesting point we've seen with the new CBA, and you've seen it reflected in how the rosters are being built. Only one team is currently in the second apron.
Correct.
and that's crazy because the teams know the punishment of doing so. But also, I think there's an issue with the CBA and guaranteed and non-guaranteed contracts, and we talk about this with the NBA draft. That I think a great example is Henry Vasar.
Yeah.
Henry Vasar out of North Carolina was projected in some mock drafts to go as high as 25. Slipped all the way down to the 40s, and the reason he slipped all the way down was because he had a promise of a guaranteed contract from the Atlanta Hawks. And so all the teams in between that passed on him weren't able to give him a guaranteed contract. And so we're getting to a point in the league where NBA teams are so cheap that they can't even, and when it comes to finessing the apron, that they can't even give out guaranteed contracts to 2 rookies.
Correct.
And it's like the first 30 or even 35 guys are the only ones getting guaranteed deals. And I think back to what just happened this offseason with Quinton Post is, he was a great second-round pick, I believe was picked in the 50s, and the Warriors couldn't afford a guaranteed deal, so he signed a non-guaranteed deal. After 2 years, he became a restricted free agent, and they just lost him in free agency to the Memphis Grizzlies. And again, had they signed him to that 4-year guaranteed deal, they never would have had that issue. So I think it's really interesting, but also I'll pose a question to you here, Max. What do you think about possibly changing the NBA draft to 1 round and then doing a G League draft for the next few rounds? Because if these guys are only going to get non-guaranteed deals and 2-way deals anyway, what's the point of making the whole show at Barclays Center for what?
Right. No, I can definitely see where you're coming from, and the way that the guaranteed money works, it's almost influences teams to take more of a leap on those second round picks. So yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't expand it. Why not change it? Why not shake things up? I don't agree with obviously like what you said with Quinton Post, like that teams shouldn't be so cheap where they're not giving a 4-year deal. Mm-hmm. Especially if you are going to take a leap on a player, why not try to develop him over 4 years?
Right. And again, you can't blame Post for taking that offer, but again, it's very uncommon. You have a rookie standout who can't stay with the team. But also, I think another role that's played in all of this is the effect that NIL has on the NBA draft, because these guys who would fill out your second round are now staying in school. So if anything, that also affects the value of the second round. And obviously, just in summer league, it seems like there's a couple diamonds in the rough from this past 2026 second round. Malik Thomas, Bruce Thornton, to name a couple. Obviously, Vasar, who slipped all the way down. There's some solid pieces in that second round, but still, it definitely waters down the second round. So that was just something I wanted to touch on very quickly. And moving on, we're gonna touch on this subject just briefly because we talked about it a bit in our last episode with Tom Dundon, the new owner of the Blazers, cutting costs. But he's back at it again. He did more. And after 19 seasons with the Blazers broadcast team, he let go TV analyst Michael Holton, and then he also let go some of his other TV members. Tom Haberstroh is a big analytics guy. He let him go, as well as former ESPN legend, did SportsCenter, Neil Everett. Additionally, their broadcaster left after 9 seasons because they failed to reach a new contract. And to my knowledge, this broadcaster wanted to stay, but called the offers from the Blazers subprime. So, likely a lowball offer. Difficult to speculate, but again, seemingly he wanted to stay for his 10th season, and it's just another area in which Tom Dundon's cutting costs. I mean, again, I mentioned it last episode with the Carolina Hurricanes. He cut the radio broadcaster and put play-by-play on radio. So, I mean, not really much to say, but any thought on that?
Yeah, I feel like it's confusing a little bit. You have so many fans that watch you at home. Mm-hmm. Sometimes those broadcasters really do inspire people. I mean, like we talked about, he's letting go of Neil Everett. Neil Everett is like arguably one of the people that really got me into sports. Watching him on ESPN in the mornings before school as a kid, legend. Like, there's nothing you could say about that. So when you're taking personalities like that really do shape your organization, or help portray the picture that you want people to see your organization as, it's confusing. It's definitely not a step forward.
And I think and also to mention quick on Tom Haberstroh, I don't know if any of our viewers were watching League Pass last year, but it was an interesting dynamic that the Blazers broadcast had to bring in a statistician or to bring in somebody good with statistics. Not all broadcasts did that, so it was interesting. It was an interesting dynamic with him. But yeah, you mentioned Neil Everett, a SportsCenter legend. But either way, again, and I go back to what I said last episode is you're a player. And again, Dundon said he wasn't going to cut costs on players, but also he didn't travel as two-way guys, right, to the playoffs. You're a player, and you're looking for a team to land. You're looking to go somewhere. Why would you want to go to Portland? You can only take what these franchises do, how they treat their people, how they treat their players, and I don't think Dundon's doing a very good job of treating his players or treating his people well. He's not doing a great job of treating the city well so far. I mean, it's still yet to be revealed if they are going to leave Portland. But either way, that's a whole other conversation for another day. But at the very least, you want to be able to attract talent, because that's the only way you're going to win.
Right. And for a team that has been lacking talent in recent years, it just seems like a step back.
Mm-hmm. And moving on to our final trade before we spend a good amount of time talking about LeBron James, as everyone has. We're going to move on to the Lou Dort trade. Again, the Thunder kind of had to make some moves. We talked about their dealing of Isaiah Joe. They had to avoid, the financial penalties of that second apron. So as a result, moved on from Lou Dort, and the Hawks got Lou Dort and Ryan Nembhard. Oklahoma City got 3 second-round picks and got that trade exception for Dort. And then the Mavericks took a swing on former number 1 overall pick Zachary Risachet, and they got a protected second-round pick as well. It's also worth mentioning that I believe for only the 4th or 5th time ever, the Mavs have now assembled a team with 3 former first-round picks on it, or 3 former number 1 overall picks. I believe the other teams to do that, I believe, was the Mavs as well, with Flagg, Davis, and Kyrie, although they never ended up playing together. I believe the Lakers with James Worthy also had a few number 1 overall picks, but it's only happened a handful of times in NBA history. But what are your thoughts on the deal? I'll give mine after.
I don't know. I'm not the biggest Lou Dort guy. I don't love the way he plays basketball. So I'm glad to see him out of the West a little bit. Go beat up some guys in the East during a playoff series. I think more interesting here than anything is Risachet. I don't think he's demanded the respect where, everyone should know how to pronounce his name either, but I definitely think it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting dynamic. I saw the video the other day of him arriving in Dallas, being in the locker room with the guys. It seems like positive vibes. I just think he has a lot to prove. I think the spotlight is now. Bust is such a tough label to have. I think it's still too early to call him a bust. But I think this is do or die. I think he needs to have a productive season to be involved in the Mavs playing going forward. They have their guy now in Cooper Flagg. Every season is for the next couple of years, because they're not going to be a contender right now. They're not going to be a contender next season. They are going to be shaping a roster around Cooper Flagg for the next couple of years, and he needs to prove to them why he is a part of that.
And there's still more rebuilding for them to do. I think, you're very fair by not labeling him a bust yet, but I also think, sometimes that comes with being the number 1 overall pick. It was also a weak draft class. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I remember a Kansas legend, Frank Mason. Frank Mason III, he was playing EuroLeague ball. He said recently that he was playing with Risachet, and he's like, you guys are calling him the number 1 overall pick? He's not that good. So,
right.
Maybe Frank Mason saw it from the jump, but I think it's a solid move for Dallas. I mean, no reason not to take a swing.
Right.
However, I did really like Ryan Nembhard. I think Ryan Nembhard, of the entire deal, is the most underrated pickup. I mean, we're talking about a guy who, I mean, the stats don't flatter you, but just had some really good minutes for them last season. But as far as Atlanta's concerned, they're trying to focus more to a win now, in a sense, building around Jalen Johnson.
Right.
I think to give up, to maybe chalk Risa Shea up as a swing and a miss, and to get Dort, a guy who's proven to help playoff teams, I think it's a solid move. They didn't have to give up any first round picks, but they obviously gave up a former first round pick. But again, Risa Shea, didn't prove to be much worth keeping. Obviously had his flashes, but Jalen Johnson proved that they can build around him. So I think it's an interesting deal around all sides. It'll be interesting to see Dort in the East, like you had mentioned. But
how does it affect Oklahoma City in your eyes?
It's really difficult because when you look at contending teams, you had to say to yourself, most of the contenders, due to the salary constraints, had to get worse.
Right.
And they had to get worse to keep their team. The only one that didn't was San Antonio.
They got better.
And San Antonio got better. That's why I believe they're the favorite coming into next year. You can argue New York, there wasn't much fall off with New York, and I'll give you that. They exchanged, I believe, Huck Porty for Andre Drummond.
They lost Mitch Robinson. I don't think that roster got better. I don't think it got much worse.
Right.
I just think, like we've mentioned earlier, I think the East got a lot better.
Right.
I think there's going to be a lot more people that can lot more people that can give them a run. I don't want to say that if they had played more games, this past postseason, but that they would not have won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have been interesting to see them not sweep so many teams. Teams give them more of a run for their money, and then how do they approach that once they got to finals?
To be tested more. And you make a great point because they faced a 7 seed in the second round.
Exactly.
And they didn't have to face the 1 seed either.
Right.
They faced Cleveland, who took care of Detroit. And again, I think Detroit is a regular season team, not a postseason team, and they showed that. But to answer your question with OKC, it's difficult. Do I think they're going to be really good? Are they maybe the best well-suited to win the West again? I think so, just because they're so deep.
Right.
I think San Antonio could easily win the West. But again, when you talk about contenders and you talk about top 4 teams in each conference, not many have gotten better. Some have had to subtract, and those biggest subtractions for the Thunder have been Isaiah Joe and have been Lou Dort. But they also develop 3-and-D wings like crazy, it seems. And obviously, A.J. Mitchell showed a lot last year. He can take another big step, but also Jalen Williams barely played.
They need him to be healthy. Nursing
that hand injury that he played through in that finals run. I think maybe out of all the other Western Conference teams that you're thinking got better, I think LA got a little better. Right. I think Minnesota got probably a fair amount better. Obviously, losing Randall and Naz Reid is big, but LaMelo Ball's a big acquisition. But also, I think Houston made some underrated moves as well. Marcus Smart
is going to be so missed on that Lakers squad, and nobody knows it until day one.
Marcus Smart is a dog. Marcus Smart resurrected his career last season with the Lakers. He is a winning player.
And not only on the defensive side, but he was a reliable three-point shooter. Reliable ball handler. Mm-hmm. He could take over the offense, especially when LA was injury ridden,
and proved that he could be healthy. And especially that was an area of emphasis for Houston in that offseason because they kind of were stuck with Reed Shepherd a bit as a point guard, kind of playing out of position there, if you will. But anyway, yeah. So your question was, where do I think that leaves the Thunder? I think unfortunately they've had to subtract, but they could certainly, go to another Western Conference Finals next year. I don't think that's out of the question. And they've got assets. Right. They can make other moves. They can make trade deadline moves. They can do what they need to in order to, kind of get back to that level if they deem necessary at the deadline. Maybe they run into some injuries.
Right.
We'll see. But moving on, we're finally talking about what everybody wants to hear. We're only covering one free agent signing today. And of course, it's going to be the LeBron James signing. And before we get into our thoughts, I wanted to bring up a couple thoughts from NBA pundits and analysts. We'll talk about Charles Barkley's thoughts. We'll talk about Brian Windhorst's thoughts. But starting off with what Charles Barkley had to say about the LeBron signing, and again, LeBron signed a 2-year, roughly $8 million deal. And I'll get into my thoughts on some of that in a second. But Charles Barkley had to say this. He stacked his team in Miami, Cleveland, LA. Now he's stacking it in Philly. So I'm going to have the same criticism. He's always stacked his team, end quote. Barkley also had to say that Bron needs 2 titles in order for him to declare him better than Michael Jordan. We'll also get into our GOAT debate for another day as well. But moving on to what Brian Windhorst said, and because Brian Windhorst, their comments went hand in hand. Windhorst said, and quote, "Where does Charles and the legends want LeBron to go? Do they want him to go to the G League? Because if he went to Cleveland, is that team stacked? Is Miami with Bam Adebayo and Giannis Antetokounmpo, is that team stacked? Jokic and Jamal Murray, is that team stacked? And Edwards, Rudy Gobert? I don't know. He left Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. Is that not stacked? I don't understand the premise of the complaint." End quote. And for all the listeners out there, I will explain the premise of the complaint.
Please do.
Because
I see what Chuck said,
mm-hmm.
and I don't necessarily agree with him. I don't know why everything has to be on the GOAT debate. He stacked his team. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
You said, in the quote, he says he did it in all these other places. Why do you care at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Why, you already deem that as something that, stands in the way of him being the GOAT. Why do you care at this point?
So I think I disagree with Windhorst wholeheartedly. I believe that Denver is not stacked. Denver is not stacked with LeBron James. Are we talking about a perennial MVP candidate in Jokic? Yes. But Jamal Murray's made 1 All-Star team.
I agree.
And again, same thing with, you could argue Miami as well. I mean, Bam Adebayo at his peak has been a fringe All-Star.
I agree.
So again, you're talking 1 MVP candidate, 1 former All-Star over there. Even LA, Austin Reeves has never made an All-Star team. So again, you're talking 1 MVP candidate versus, again, who are we talking about in Philly? Jaylen Brown finished top 6 in MVP voting last year. Tyrese Maxey did not earn MVP votes because they only gave 6 players MVP votes, but certainly would have been a top 10 candidate. Again,
Absolutely.
averaged 28 points per game. And then you have a former MVP in Joel Embiid. And even if you bring Bron to Cleveland, I don't necessarily believe that those teams are as stacked. In my opinion, I feel as though there's a few teams where Bron could have went to where you're like, okay, I'm interested to see if Bron can take them to the next level, how they level up. For me, I thought those were Minnesota and Denver and Golden State. And I also think you could make the argument that Cleveland and Miami wouldn't be as stacked either. I think Cleveland, apart from Philly, you can make the argument is the most stacked with D. Mitch.
Right.
Obviously have all-star caliber talent in Mobley, would have had Harden as well, as not re-signed yet officially, but then still have great guy in Jared Allen as well. So I think you can make the argument that team is stacked as well. But when you look at Miami, I mean, they're pretty thin,
right,
apart from Giannis and Bam. So I feel like Brian Windhorst is maybe coming to LeBron's aid a little bit too much there because
Absolutely.
they are really stacked in Philly. But
sorry, I can see both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I like the points that you made. Yeah, I think that Philly was definitely the most stacked option he could have gone to.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that Miami, Denver, or even really Minnesota would be that stacked of teams if LeBron goes there. We need to remember that as great as he is and as productive as he is and smart as a team player,
mm-hmm.
he is still 42 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He is still declining. He cannot play every game for you.
Mm-hmm.
He is not going to be your end game option anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of things where, people are like, who's going to take the last shot on Philly? I believe that LeBron will have the ball in his hands and find somebody. But I don't think it will be LeBron taking these end of game shots.
And then also not to go quote heavy, but just wanted to quote some things for the viewer so that they know, how close Bron was signing to these other teams. We have a quote here from ESPN that maybe linked the Cavs not getting Bron to their trade of Darius Garland. And the quote from ESPN was, "It's not that the Cavs having Harden was a factor," sources said, "but rather who the Cavs did not have. To get Harden from the Clippers in February, the Cavs traded Darius Garland, a clutch-repped point guard," again, same agency as LeBron James, and in the end, there were 3 strikes against Cleveland, family not being an issue, LeBron's choice, the front office not making a deal for Brown as opposed to Philly, and the Cavs roster not featuring Garland. Again, that's according to ESPN. And then the final thing from ESPN is that as far as the Heat's race for James, the Heat were a little thin after they traded their young players, Hero, Ware, Jaquez Jr., Yakuchonis, for Giannis, and lost Norman Powell as well. LeBron James' focus on picking the best position team to win the title might have negatively affected the Heat's standing. Again, that's quoted from ESPN. But going back to my thoughts on it, I think it is. I do think it is ring chasing for LeBron,
right?
And I think also I take a bit of exception to it once you get to players starting to negotiate buyouts just to join certain teams, which is what KCP did, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope with the Grizzlies. I'm not a huge fan of that. However, do I think you can blame LeBron? I mean, LeBron made the decision that he felt was best for him, but also, he didn't choose the Knicks, he didn't choose the Spurs. I think those, everybody would have said those were a lot worse. And what I look for from Philly, do I think they're the best team in the East? I think they're top 2. I don't think they are going to finish as a top team in the regular season just because their guys are going to need a lot of rest. I think teams like Detroit, maybe we'll take that. Teams like New York, I still think New York is probably the best team in the East as it stands. And the only reason I say that is because I believe the current Philly roster does not have enough front court depth. I mean, they made some other signings, and again, we'll get into the rest of the signings later, but some of the other signings Philly made, Dean Wade, that's okay in the front court, but Anthony Simons was a good pickup. They picked up Caleb Love, who shot good.
Yeah.
Former UNC guy, an Arizona guy, shot well for Portland last year. But it's a lot of guards over there. Obviously, they drafted LeBaron Philon, a great guard, but he's going to be buried by the guards and forwards that they have. So I'm not sure that they're deep enough.
Could you imagine if they still had Jared McCain too?
Yeah.
It makes that trade look a lot less bad now.
Well, sure, yeah. When you can just trade for a top 6 MVP candidate and sign LeBron, yeah. I mean that'll solve most of your issues.
Right.
But and then moving on to the final debate, and unless you want a last word on the Philly on
I mean you
roster.
brought up that you definitely think it's ring chasing.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I wouldn't expect anything differently from you see a lot of players at the end of their career bounce from teams to ring chase. You don't necessarily see players that are in the GOAT conversation do that. So that I think that's why this really sparks so much interest in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, he's at the end of his career. He just went through a weird year and a half with LA where he was, playing a position that he's never been asked to play in his life, where he is a third option. I think he adapted really well to it, but I think Philly really sold him. What Nick Nurse told him, we want you to be ball dominant.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really thrives in a ball dominant space. I don't know how that's going to fit with players that like Tyrese Maxey, who was so ball dominant and was so successful being ball dominant. I know there's, his catch and shoot 3-point percentage is through the roof, but it's super interesting to see how that will fit. On paper, they look like, I guess, you can argue a top 2 in the East,
mm-hmm.
but I mean,
how's it all going to work out?
How's it all going to work out? Because like you said too, they are not going to win that many regular season games. They are going to have to rest their guys. They do need to, I think, secure at least like the 5th seed going to the playoffs.
I think they'll be top 4. Yeah. I think they'll be top 4. I'm interested in the quality of Tyrese Maxey's looks.
Right.
Because somebody who was dominating on that Philly team with Embiid injured a lot, I mean, he averaged so many shot attempts per game.
Yeah.
And he would score a bunch, but he would score a ton on so many shot attempts. I'm interested to see how Jaylen Brown's one-on-one scoring play fits in as well. But also another thing I was shocked about, LeBron signed for 2 years. I mean, just knowing LeBron, knowing what he loved to do, to have all the attention, throughout this free agent process. I was shocked that he signed for multiple years, but he has a player option. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he does the same thing to all of us again next year. I would say that's highly likely.
Yeah.
There was also reports that came out that had they lost to Houston in the first round, he was considering retiring altogether.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't buying that at all. Again, those are what the reports say. That's just my opinion. I wasn't buying that at all.
Yeah.
I always thought LeBron was coming back. But going with our final debate before we end the episode here.
Hold on really quickly. So
Sure.
do you think that there's a possibility that after this season he could say, I want to be traded? I want to be traded. Because in his contract, there is a 15% trade kicker.
So LeBron James could not get a no trade clause,
Right,
because he did not have some previous service time with Philly. However, he has an opt out, so he doesn't even have to get traded. He can say, I'm going to opt out of my deal and be a free agent again, which is what I'm referring to. But moving on to our final debate, and Kevin Durant recently went viral for saying this, and Kevin Durant tends to go viral when he logs on to his social media account. It happens, but he said that the Philadelphia 76ers are far better on paper than the 2016-17 Warriors were when he joined, after the 15-16 Warriors went 73-9. Now, if you would like some of my commentary on this, I've already wrote an article on this on the Warriors Wire. Check that out on USA Today. But I'm happy to discuss it here. I'll give you the first thought.
I think that's a wild statement to come from a player that was a part of a roster in this conversation. I'd love to talk to him about it. Really
so you wholeheartedly disagree
that this current Sixers team is better than that Warriors team
on paper? Yeah.
On paper, yeah, it's tough. I mean, when you look back, Kevin Durant is top 5 player in the league. Steph Curry is top 2 player in the league. Draymond Green is consistently getting Defensive Player of the Year nominations or awards. Mm-hmm. You have Andre Iguodala, who is a proven player who has just always been a great player for rosters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess if you want to compare there, I mean,
Clay obviously as well.
Yeah, sorry. Let me forget Clay. I think it's a tough debate because we're comparing a team that has never played together to a team that has played together. Mm-hmm. So I can't remember what my thoughts were at the beginning of when that team was assembled, but looking back on it now, yeah, I disagree. I think that the way that team panned out is better than what's on paper right now.
Right. So that's an interesting point, and I think, I've obviously spent some time on this topic. Like I said, I wrote about it. I agree with Kevin Durant, and I'll tell you why. The reason I agree with Kevin Durant is, again, you've got a player coming off of a 6th place finish in MVP, just had the best season of his career. Again, Tyrese Maxey did not get MVP votes. I think we all can agree he was a top 10 player in the league last year, right?
Yeah.
So you've got 2 top 10 players, and you've got a former MVP as well, and Joel Embiid. And again, Joel Embiid is not the same player he was. Let's make that clear. However, he still averaged 26 points per game last year. I mean, he's no slouch. I thought he was going to move a lot worse than he did last year. But and then again, LeBron. LeBron has never averaged less than 20 points in his entire career. Adding LeBron, that's 4. And then also the young star of VJ Edgecombe, right? Those are 5 guys. And to counter it from the Warriors' perspective, I'll go through that side as well. Again, top 2 player in Curry, top 5 MVP candidate, absolutely. Then Durant, top 5 MVP candidate, absolutely. But Klay Thompson and Durant was correct in saying that he's never been an MVP guy. It's true. Is he great at his role? Was he tremendous 3-and-D? Absolutely. Is Klay's prime a tremendous shooting guard of all time? Absolutely. But not an MVP caliber guy. And I already mentioned 3 MVP caliber guys on that Philly side, not to mention the 4th being LeBron, again, who's not at MVP level, but a previous MVP.
I get it.
And then Draymond Green. I mean, Draymond Green's a defense-first guy, and as opposed to, your argument was your 4th player being, or your 5th player being Iguodala. I think Edgecombe's rising up in that 5th player, but there's also some solid role players around that Philly squad as well. But the reason why I think Durant is right is because you have to get into the semantics of his statement. And here's where I'll bridge the gap back to the Warriors sides of things, is that I don't think the Sixers are the Warriors won they were 67-15 that season.
Right.
I don't think the Sixers are going to go 67-15. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near close. I don't think that Sixers team is going to be better at all than that Warriors team.
Right.
But Kevin Durant's claim is that they are better on paper, and I agree with that because I think the Warriors team fits better together. I think they're better coached. I think they're going to get more out of their players, which they did. So I agree with Durant's claim in the sense that that team is better on paper because there's more star power, there's more MVPs, there's more All-Stars. You've got a young rising star as well versus, again, two former MVPs, one all-time great role player, another all-time solid defensive player. I think Durant is correct. But again, if you are asking which team of these will perform better, 16-17 Warriors. I mean, that's
Correct.
One of the greatest teams all time.
Correct.
I mean, let's not get that twisted. So I agree with KD, but I also think the Warriors team is better. And I think those two things can be true at the same time.
One last thing I'll say about it, just based on your feedback too, you mentioned the type of caliber, the players that Philly has. Mm-hmm. One is, up and coming in VJ Edgecombe, LeBron. Obviously, LeBron, but declining. Mm-hmm. Joel Embiid has not been very healthy in years. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we've seen what he can do when he is healthy. Mm-hmm. But when you look at that Warriors squad, Curry, Durant, Draymond, Clay, they were arguably all in their prime at that time.
That's true. But
so I factor that into the on paper, where they are, how old they are, how efficient they are. I think even still on paper, that team...
But I also think health is on paper as well. Okay. So you can make that argument with Embiid too, right? Like if Embiid's healthy, if Braun is healthy, and again, that doesn't take away their age, I agree. But again, you're looking at two current MVP candidates, which is the same that you could say, maybe not to the level definitely not to the level that Curry and Durant will. Yeah. But I think the back half, the 3 through 5, make up for it in the sense of Braun and Embiid versus Clay and Draymond, and then Edgecombe.
Yeah,
and Iguodala. So I think you can go either way with it. I won't disagree with you if you say the Warriors.
Same with you. I think the biggest part of your take essentially is the development of VJ Edgecombe and how his career plays out.
And again, it's also the semantics of the statement of Durant. Had he said this Philly team is going to wash out the Warriors, I think you'd be foolish to say, because I don't think they're going to get near 60 wins. I just don't. I mean, I believe Detroit had 63 wins to lead the East last year. I don't think they're going to be the number one seed. So it's not a matter of wins and losses. It's more of that claim on paper. And that's the biggest term in the whole statement and in the whole debate. But that'll wrap it up another episode of the BasketBaltes podcast. I have been Mac Baltes, joined by Max. You can follow him at HoopsMaxing.
Hoops_Maxing.
That'll be below. In the description. Caleb joined us as well. A great episode. Appreciate producer Greg, as always. Blessed to be here. Blessed to be talking NBA. More basketball coming soon. And in our next episode, we will talk other free agent signings after LeBron, and we'll also have an interesting debate or talk on the 2028 Olympics, as it's now been about 2 years since the 2024 edition. So stay tuned for that. Continue to look out for the shorts and more long-form content coming your way. This has been BasketBaltes. Thank you for listening.